Section 6. Interpretation of assessments. So this is about receiving your Z-scores, what they mean, and importantly, what should you do with them in the long term. In a FAPAS report, you will see the results and the Z-scores tabulated against the laboratory number. In a FAPAS report, we highlight in bold font those Z-scores which are outside plus or minus 2. We also provide a histogram of the Z-scores to show what the distribution is compared to the other laboratories taking part and compared to the performance limits of plus or minus 2 Z-scores. It's important to understand what this means. In particular, what happens when you get a Z-score outside of plus or minus 2. And this is important in terms of the general trend of performance. There is an underlying assumption that we have a normal distribution. In fact, we can prove that we have a normal distribution in the data. There are statistical tools to do that. But what it means in practice is that within 2 standard deviations of a mean value, the area under a normal distribution is about 95%. Another way of looking at this is that the area outside of 2 standard deviations is about a total of 5%, 2.5% either side. So there is a 5% probability or a 1 in 20 chance that your Z-score is outside of 2 even if everything is working normally. This is an effect of the statistical distribution. The probability of a Z-score being outside 3 standard deviations, however, is a much smaller proportion of that curve. It's about 1 in 300. The probability, therefore, is not very good that you have a genuine result that is okay, but it gives you a Z-score outside of 3. Therefore, that should be an action limit to investigate what has gone wrong. A Z-score between 2 and 3 might indicate a problem, or it might simply be that 1 in 20 chance that everything is working okay and it just happens to fall at the edge of the normal distribution. The distribution is a curve, not a step change. So this is an important concept. For some of our proficiency tests that are semi-blind, that are detection as well as quantitation, you might see a Z-score of about minus 4.5, and in fact you might see a group of Z-scores in that same region. This is highlighted in a vet drug PT distribution amoxicillin. Why would we have these Z-scores of minus 4.5? One of the questions that we ask is about the limit of detection or quantitation, and in vet drugs, for EU regulatory purposes, this is the CC beta value. Not all labs will have a CC beta, so we also accept LOQ values. The assigned value in this case is 7.71, with a standard deviation of 1.6962. What we're doing is assessing laboratories on whether they should have been able to detect amoxicillin based on their CC beta. There is a mechanism for doing this, so we set a lower limit dependent on the assigned value and the 3 times standard deviation. So 3 times sigma p is 5.0886, therefore our lower limit, our criterion for assessing labs on their detection capability, is the assigned value minus 3 times sigma p, which is 2.62. If a lab's CC beta is more than this critical value, then we say that it's less than the CC beta. We give them the benefit of the doubt that they would not be able to detect that analyte. However, if their CC beta is below the critical value, they should have detected the compound, in which case we give them a result of 0, which equates to a z-score of minus 4.5. We also encourage participants to generate control charts. This can be done quite simply internally within the laboratory, and the advantage is that it gives you a measure of performance over a long period of time. One proficiency test is an idea of that performance on that one day on that one test material. It doesn't indicate what is the long-term performance of that lab. So a few data points in the top left chart here doesn't really tell us whether there's a positive bias or a negative bias. But by the time we've got about 100 data points, 100 z-scores for similar PTs, we can see that actually overall the trend is around about a z-score of 0. In other words, there is no problem with the performance in general. We make this easy for you. On the secure pages on your login, there is a button called Charts. You can use this to filter all your historic results for about the last 10 or 14 years, depending on how long you've been taking part, and it will produce a chart online for your purposes. We are in the process of updating this charting facility, so you will be able to filter it for different analytes or analyte groups, and it will highlight what different results mean in terms of multiple result submission. This is an enhanced feature that we will be launching very soon in 2018.